I'll say it, I'm a console casual. I like the controller in hand, cozying up on the couch, putting the game disc in the game disc drive, and head empty, no thoughts, let's play some games. PC gaming, you're all right, I have too many problems with you, and I also work at my PC a lot. And then there's the other sliver of gaming. There's VR gaming. So VR is something I dabbled with in 2019. Wasn't super crazy about my experience there. The Oculus Rift S felt like a brick on my face, frankly. It was also connected with a wire, which felt too primitive for what I was trying to do. I also felt like the games weren't quite there. And to cap it all off, you had to link a Facebook account. So I was just not feeling the whole vision there either. Luckily, a lot has changed since then, and I'm feeling a little bit more open-minded about giving things a second try in VR gaming. MetaQuest reached out and said, hey, we got a nice little headset for you. Assassin's Creed Nexus is out. You want to check it out. I thought about it for a while, but the main push that gave me the desire to do this was not necessarily the games. That was more of a prove-it moment for Meta to bring to me. It was actually for my personal health. Many of you may have tracked this over the last few months. I had really bad swaying and motion sickness for about a year, and that meant I felt like I was on roller skates, oftentimes on my feet, and that when I was sitting here talking, like my vision was going like this. It was really tough to deal with. After a lot of time in physical therapy, I am totally back on the mend. Changing my diet has helped a lot too. And so I'm gradually reaching out for things that restore normalcy into my life. VR gaming was something I really wanted to try, but was too scared to do so. And traveling on planes is still something I have yet to do since all of that occurred, and I'm going to be doing that this year. So this to me was like a personal challenge in a way, but also a great opportunity to kind of open the floodgates and see what's happened in these last 5 years with VR. So we have the MetaQuest 3 here. They've made 3 of these. I had no idea about this. It's wireless. All of the games and everything are in here. Like, this doesn't even connect to my PC. Yeah, that's how out of it I was. I was like, what? This is all here? So immediately I was pretty intrigued on where things were heading. But shout out to MetaQuest for sponsoring today's video. We're going to be talking a bit about Assassin's Creed Nexus because I just reviewed Assassin's Creed Mirage. And quite frankly, I got to say, like, I wasn't too thrilled with that game, as you may have seen in that review. I thought that generally the story wasn't as good as it should have been. I thought the return to the old, they missed the mark on it. So I've been looking for something to love in Assassin's Creed, especially because once we did our full retrospective of that over on Retro Rebound, I realized how much I love certain elements of this series. And so the question was, could Nexus capture all of that? All the elements that make AC special at the same time as selling me on VR. So I'm going to talk a bit about my motion sensitivity situation and how the MetaQuest 3 handles that, as well as the game itself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, thank you for tuning in to something very different from what we do. We typically talk about console games and RPGs, and they have Asgard's Wrath 2, which came for free with this, so you already know I'm going to be all over that stuff. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Consider subscribing. All right, so let's talk about the whole setup process here. When I unboxed it and I saw just the headset, the 2 controllers, no cables outside of what you charge it with, I was really confused. I was like, wait, okay, does it connect to my computer through Bluetooth? It runs through the entire thing here, which I'm just saying because I feel like if I wasn't paying attention to that and I didn't know that, then maybe you didn't know that either. Anyway, firing it up, I downloaded a few games, but we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Nexus. This is a game that I have to say I am disappointed in myself for not keeping closer on my radar. Normally, these VR style games, I see them as sort of like a technological tour. Like, look what we did, a couple of gimmicks here or there, but this is like a full-fledged Assassin's Creed game here in VR, and it feels awesome. So for me, the main standout is the free running. The free running feels great. Now, what you're going to notice in some of the gameplay, I recorded 2 different types. One is going to look really snappy and choppy, and I'm going to try to use that as little as possible, but it's just to convey to you 2 different types of experiences. It was my first time in VR in about half a decade. As much as I wanted to go all in on the immersive settings they had, which is like free movement, using the camera smoothly, like all that stuff that makes this game special, I knew I wasn't well equipped for that. So they do have great accessibility options here that I have to call out, okay? From the way the snap turning works by fading to black, the removal of artificial motion that causes motion sickness, to teleportation movements, this does feel like a perfect entry point if you are just getting back into VR. It does make certain things, like when I'll talk about it in a little bit, setting up assassinations, a little gimmicky, like you mismeasure a teleport or an enemy moves where you don't want them to. That is where it disconnects a bit, But if you are looking to kind of take a step into VR and you're like me and you've either had bad motion sensitivity, bad motion sickness, or you're recovering from swaying a ton chronically, then this is a great starting point in that instance there. I thought that the accessibility options from people like me all the way to those of you who are trained in VR was pretty fantastic. I did try my luck in immersive. The first time I tried it, it was like on my feet right here behind me. 30 seconds in, I was like, no, I'm not ready for this. Immediately, like, my head set on fire. I was like, nope. So I sat down. I did the seated option, as you'll see here. That worked really well for me, kind of stabilizing the experience a bit. And I heard online that you could use a fan to sort of stimulate your senses. That trick worked really well for me too. So I just want to put that out there for those of you who are like me and had some trouble with that sort of stuff. I know most of you are here to learn about the game, but I just really wanted to indicate here that if you kind of were like me and scared to get into it because you had some sort of motion sickness, you're not going to be immune to it. It's going to hit you. It's normal, but there are ways to mitigate it and to help yourself out. And this game has really good settings to kind of get you ready and into VR. So let's talk more about the game now. I did try my hand in immersive settings because I had to see what this game was doing when you took all the training wheels off. And man, the free running, like I said, is so cool. So you kind of use your headset to steer things. I still use the right analog stick here on the controller to rotate things. But when you're running around and leaping from building to building, I mean, you get this sense of scale that the games can't quite capture in third person. Like, yes, Ubisoft makes these massive open world games that we already know about, and you can really feel that in the synchronization points where you see the scale of the cities you're in. They do feel like huge games, especially something like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, where you can use like a grapple gun to scale gigantic walls or cross massive streets. You do get that feeling of scale, but when you're there in first person, there is an immersive quality there that adds a lot. The best part is when you're doing the climbing, right? Assassin's Creed, you know how it goes, right? You're scaling these buildings, but when you got to hold the controllers, and my fiance was in the room recording me, and my reaction was hilarious. I had no idea she had the camera running, but I had to put in the video.
Nice. Oh, I'm about to do a synchronization. Oh, this is cool as hell.
And yeah, there's that kind of rambunctious quality that kicks in when it comes to VR. Like, I found out I could shove some people, and so yeah, I had some fun doing that too.
What? Greetings. Help! Somebody, please!
Yeah, that's right away.
Whoa!
Oh,
What's this?
Fuck you. Wait, who's whistling for the guards?
It's all those little things to me in VR gaming that elevate it, right? Because now, things like a hidden blade, normally a press of the X button for my console casuals out there like me. Just the press of the X button, it still feels epic because of the presentation quality, depending on who you're taking out and what moment in the story's happening. But here, even taking out a common guard, pretty awesome because you have to hold the right trigger on your right controller and flick the motion outwards like this. And when you do so, the hidden blade pops out. I'm like, yo, wait, that's a great little touch there. So when I'm in that immersive mode and I pop out the hidden blade and then bang, right in the neck, and they make the sound effect and everything, wow, absolutely awesome feeling, man. I hate to say it because it's gonna sound corny, but your boy felt like truly an assassin. I was doing synchronization points, free run challenges, which you may remember from the original Assassin's Creed. That clicked with me pretty well because when it came to, say, the activities in the original Assassin's Creed, there's a nostalgia for them, and they tried to carry some of that over in Mirage, but not evolve them. And the evolution here is the way you approach the gameplay, right? So they're the same activities you know and love, but like when you do a sync point, you'll stretch out your arms all the way and press the A button, and then you feel like you're doing a leap of faith. They do have accessibility options for that. Like if you have fear of heights, like you look down, you're like, this is too much, this is too real for me. They have ways to mitigate that as well. So I just feel like they did a really good job accommodating for everything from capturing the gameplay style of Assassin's Creed all the way to little newbies in VR like myself. Melee combat is great, very deflection focused. I'll be honest, a little slow. I wish more enemies would attack me quicker. They do ramp that up with future enemies, but yeah, there were times that I wish that in those early goings that, yeah, they ramp things up. So you will deflect enemy attacks, and when they open up for an attack, after deflecting a couple of attacks, they're open and vulnerable, and you'll stab away, slash away. And you do have to give a good, pretty hefty cut. You can't just like wiggle the sword in there. There is a level of collision there. You'll see here, though, this is where the more comfortable settings that I was on were kind of troublesome, because I was trying to teleport closer to him and I would teleport around the room. And so combat can be a little tough in these situations, just like I mentioned with the hidden blade takedowns. Fortunately, the AI walking patterns are pretty set in stone, where they're not going to do anything too surprising, where it's pretty manageable when you're teleporting, but combat can be a little tough where you're sort of waiting for enemies to come at you. But that was really my main critique, if you will, when it came to combat. Otherwise, it's mostly stealth focused. You'll be grabbing items off of shelves and throwing them and causing noise and then sneaking around. Like, that type of stuff is awesome. And while the beginning is focused on Ezio, naturally, you actually start to explore other time periods as different assassins. Like, you go back to the American Revolution as Connor. You control Cassandra again. And I just love that this feels like you're going back to all these locations that you know and love and exploring them in a new way that you could have only dreamed about. Like, it really does evolve and grow in meaningful ways. Like, some of the unique movement mechanics that you'll find in specific Assassin's Creed games are in those games. Like, you can grab the side of ropes and throw yourself up the side of a building in Assassin's Creed 3. Like, it really does capture the spirit of each game individually, and it adds a lot. So yeah, just like in those entries where they gradually add more and more tricks in parkour, you get them here as well. And so it's fun to just pick like your favorite spot in the memory sequences and just explore and go hog wild, where even the most basic of tasks that you can take on is a really good time. And again, as I said earlier, being a fan of the, you know, younger Assassin's Creed games, right? Your Assassin's Creed 1, 2, 3, and so on. Having this as sort of a collection in a weird way in VR, it's awesome. Again, I can't believe this one flew under my radar. So yeah, it's a really good entry point. And then I just have to shout out other games like Asgard's Wrath 2, like a full-fledged RPG in VR. I am very excited to dive into that this year, because that is like got my name written all over it. Like, they have gear and stats and skills and all that. So I really got to check it out. Nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on MetaQuest 3 thus far. I have to say, I'm impressed. Like, sponsored video or no, this was a really good check for my health, and I'm happy to see that I passed with flying colors. But also on top of that, I do see that gaming in VR is evolving beyond a couple of gimmick mechanics, and that's it. Like, these are full-fledged games being made, and so Assassin's Creed Nexus was a great time, and I'm looking forward to really seeing what else VR gaming has to offer me beyond AC Nexus. So with that, let me know if you've tried out the MetaQuest 3. I'm excited to get your thoughts. Take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you next time around. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.